The oppressive humidity of the Florida Everglades clung to Dr. Amelia Vance like a second skin, a familiar, almost comforting embrace after so many years away. 16 years. It was an eternity since she last felt the raw, unbridled power of Goliath, the magnificent silverback gorilla she had painstakingly raised from a tiny orphaned infant. Now her work as a primatologist had brought her back to these very wetlands, armed with a prestigious research grant focused on a small, isolated gorilla troop. Rumor had it they inhabited a rarely explored, almost mythical section of the preserve, the very same wilderness where Goliath, at a robust 8 years old, had been controversially reintroduced to the wild. This reintroduction had followed a well-meaning but ultimately ill-advised attempt by a private sanctuary to integrate him into a larger, established troop, which had unfortunately failed. The irony of her return wasn't lost on her. It felt like fate. Amelia's heavy-duty boots squelched in the thick, viscous mud with every measured step. The air vibrated with the relentless chirping of cicadas and the distant guttural croak of unseen frogs, a constant wild symphony of the swamps. She adjusted the straps of her heavy backpack, laden with sophisticated research equipment, and absently wiped a bead of sweat that trickled down her temple. Her mind, however, wasn't on the thermal imaging camera or the tranquilizer darts she carried. It was fixated on a small, furry hand clutching her finger, on the playful roars that once echoed through the sanctuary she'd called home. She vividly remembered the profound heartbreak of watching Goliath disappear into the seemingly impenetrable thickness of the canopy, a decision made for his own good, yet one that had left an indelible, aching mark on her very soul. Suddenly, a distinct and unmistakable rustle in the dense undergrowth ahead, far too substantial for a deer or even a wild boar, pierced the humid quiet. Amelia froze instantly, her hand instinctively going to the small, non-lethal deterrent she carried, a precautionary measure. Then a scent, an earthy, powerfully musky aroma, uniquely primal, that triggered a deep, almost forgotten memory. Her heart began to pound a frantic, erratic drum against her ribs. She moved forward with excruciating caution, pushing aside a heavy curtain of thick, hanging vines. There, partially obscured by the dappled shadows cast by the towering cypress trees, was a massive, dark form. It was undeniably a male gorilla, an impressively large silverback, his powerful back to her, deeply engrossed in meticulously foraging for roots. His movements were deliberate, powerful, and utterly natural. Amelia's breath hitched in her throat, catching painfully. His immense size, the distinctive and unmistakable silvering on his broad back, the characteristic way his knuckles grazed the earth as he moved through the undergrowth, it was unequivocally him. Goliath. A powerful wave of emotions, a chaotic, overwhelming storm of pure joy, utter disbelief, and a profound, almost spiritual sense of wonder washed over her, threatening to bring her to her knees. She took a single, faltering step forward, a soft, almost inaudible whisper escaping her lips. Goliath? The magnificent gorilla froze instantly, every muscle tensing. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, his massive head turned. His deep-set eyes, once filled with the innocent, playful curiosity of a juvenile, now held the profound wisdom and inherent wariness of a seasoned alpha male. He stared at her, utterly unmoving, for what felt like an agonizing eternity. Then a subtle, almost imperceptible flicker, a slight, profound shift in his gaze, a recognition that miraculously transcended years and the vast, wild divide between them. A low, resonant rumbling sound vibrated deep within his chest, not a threat, but something else entirely, something that resonated deep within Amelia's own being. She felt hot tears welling uncontrollably in her eyes, blurring her vision. 16 years. And he remembered. The bond, dormant for so long, was now undeniably awake. What an incredible reunion. Can you imagine the emotions Dr. Vance must be feeling? Make sure to hit that subscribe button to catch the next part of this amazing story and discover what happens next. The initial overwhelming shock of recognition between Amelia and Goliath gradually subsided, giving way to a delicate, almost ethereal dance of reacquaintance. Goliath, despite his immense size and raw power, displayed a surprising and profound gentleness. He observed Amelia with an intensity that spoke volumes, his gaze never leaving her face as he slowly, cautiously approached her. Amelia, in turn, remained perfectly still, allowing him to dictate the pace of their renewed interaction. She spoke to him softly, her voice a soothing, almost melodic murmur, recounting old memories, simple, cherished stories of their shared past from so long ago. She noticed the small, almost imperceptible scar above his left eye, a tiny mark from a playful tumble they'd had when he was just a year old. It was a minute detail, a secret shared between them that only she would remember. Over the course of the next few days, Amelia meticulously set up her research station, always maintaining a respectful and safe distance from Goliath and the small, tight-knit troop he now led. She spent countless hours observing their intricate social dynamics, the careful way the females groomed each other, the boisterous and playful antics of the curious juveniles, and the complex hierarchy that governed their daily lives. Goliath, however, remained her primary and most compelling focus. He would often appear near her secluded camp, not threateningly, but with a quiet, watchful, almost protective presence. Sometimes he would bring her a particularly succulent fruit he had foraged, dropping it near her without making direct contact, a silent offering that spoke volumes more than any words ever could. Other times, he would subtly mimic her movements, a profound, almost nostalgic nod to their shared history. When she sketched intricate details in her waterproof notebook, he would pick up a stick and make deliberate marks on the soft, damp earth nearby. When she hummed a familiar tune under her breath, he would emit soft, resonant grunts that seemed to miraculously resonate with the very rhythm of her song. These were not just mere observations for her scientific research. They were profound, deeply emotional affirmations of a bond that had defied time and the vast wild divide between their species. However, the raw, untamed wilderness was not without its inherent dangers. One sweltering afternoon, the air heavy with an impending sense of dread, a sudden violent thunderstorm descended upon the Everglades with terrifying speed. The wind howled through the ancient cypress trees, snapping thick branches with alarming force, and the torrential rain fell in relentless sheets, quickly transforming the already sodden ground into a treacherous, churning mire. Amelia, caught far from the relative safety of her camp during a crucial observation, found herself disoriented and utterly vulnerable. A large, ancient tree, weakened by years of storms and decay, began to creak ominously above her, its massive trunk groaning under the strain. Just as the massive tree started its terrifying descent, a colossal shadow loomed over her. Goliath. With a burst of speed and raw power that defied his immense size, he pushed her gently but firmly out of the tree's devastating path. The ancient trunk crashed down precisely where she had stood mere moments before, a deafening crack echoing through the raging storm, shaking the very earth. He then positioned his colossal body between her and the raging elements, his broad back shielding her from the worst of the howling wind and relentless rain, an unwavering, silent, unyielding protector. In that profound moment, surrounded by the raw, untamed power of nature, Amelia knew with absolute certainty that her connection with Goliath transcended the conventional boundaries of species. It was a bond forged in shared love, profoundly tested by years of heartbreaking separation, and now irrevocably solidified by the unwritten primal laws of loyalty and unwavering protection. The storm reveals just how deep their connection runs. Can this extraordinary bond continue to thrive in the wild? Don't miss the dramatic conclusion. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss Chapter 3. The violent storm, a terrifying display of nature's raw power, dissipated as quickly and dramatically as it had arrived, leaving behind a world washed clean, glistening and strangely serene. The harrowing incident with the falling tree unequivocally solidified Amelia's understanding of Goliath's unwavering presence and profound importance in her life. It was no longer just a nostalgic reunion. It was a powerful reawakening of a deep, almost spiritual connection, a reaffirmation of their unique bond. Her research, initially focused on the general behavior of the gorilla troop, now naturally and completely shifted to understanding the unique nuances of Goliath's exceptional leadership and his remarkable, almost symbiotic interaction with her. She began to meticulously document their silent, intricate communication, the subtle gestures, the almost imperceptible shifts in body language, and the shared, profound moments of calm understanding that passed between them. She learned to interpret his deep, resonant grunts and his quiet, deliberate movements, each a silent message. The other gorillas in the troop, initially wary and cautious of her human presence, slowly, almost imperceptibly, began to accept her, a testament to Goliath's clear and undeniable acceptance. Amelia observed the intricate social structures within the troop, the way Goliath diligently protected his family, the quiet authority with which he resolved disputes among them, and the expert precision with which he guided them through the dense, unforgiving terrain of the Everglades. She saw in him not just the playful, mischievous infant she remembered so fondly, but a truly wise and immensely powerful leader, a veritable king of his wild domain. Her comprehensive research paper, when it was finally published in a prestigious scientific journal, wasn't merely a dry academic report. It was a powerful testament to the extraordinary bond that can exist between humans and animals, a compelling narrative intricately woven with detailed scientific observations, profound emotional insights, and a deep, abiding respect for the natural world. It highlighted the critical importance of ethical reintroduction programs for endangered species and showcased the incredible, almost unfathomable capacity for memory, loyalty, and deep connection in wild animals. The paper resonated widely, sparking new discussions in the conservation community. As her allocated time in the remote Everglades drew to a close, a bittersweet feeling of impending departure settled heavily over Amelia. She knew deep in her heart that she couldn't stay forever, and Goliath, in his innate wisdom, seemed to understand this unspoken truth. On her very last morning, she found him waiting for her at the edge of her secluded camp, the ethereal morning mist still clinging like a veil to the ancient cypress trees. He approached her slowly, deliberately, and for the very first time in their entire reunion, he extended a massive hand towards her. Not a direct touch, but an unspoken invitation. Amelia reciprocated, placing her hand gently, reverently near his. Their fingers almost brushed a silent, profound farewell, an unspoken promise of a connection that would forever bind them across species and time. Amelia left the Everglades with a heart overflowing with profound gratitude and a powerful, renewed sense of purpose. Her groundbreaking research would undoubtedly impact future conservation efforts on a global scale, but the true, immeasurable legacy of her extraordinary journey was the profound reaffirmation of an exceptional bond. A powerful reminder that some connections truly transcend the conventional boundaries of species and the relentless march of time. The wild, untamed jungle had miraculously given her back a fundamental part of herself she had long thought was irretrievably lost, a part that now, more than ever, felt utterly complete. The jungle had undeniably changed, and so had she, forever intertwined with the silent, powerful, and majestic spirit of Goliath. What an incredible journey! The bond between Amelia and Goliath is a powerful reminder of the deep connections possible in the natural world. We hope you enjoyed this full story. If you did, please show your support by hitting the like button, sharing this video with friends, and most importantly, subscribing to our channel for more compelling and emotional stories. Remember, this entire story is a work of fiction created purely for your entertainment.